HR thought I was the problem until they met him. Every workplace has that one employee, the employee who is never wrong, the employee who always has an excuse, the employee who somehow turns every mistake into somebody else's fault. According to one call center supervisor, their office had a guy exactly like that. We'll call him James. Customers hated him. Coworkers avoided him. Managers dreaded dealing with him. And somehow, every time he got caught doing something wrong, he managed to convince HR that he was the victim. For months, James got away with everything: bad customer service, missed shifts, incorrect information, complaints, arguments. Nothing ever stuck. Then one day, HR made a huge mistake. They decided they would handle James instead. Not the supervisor, not management, not team leaders, HR. And according to the supervisor, it took less than 6 months for HR to completely regret that decision. According to the supervisor telling the story, he worked at a large customer service call center. The job wasn't glamorous: long shifts, angry customers, constant pressure. But overall, the team worked well together. Constant pressure, but overall, the team worked well together. Most employees showed up, did their jobs, and went home. Then there was James. According to the supervisor, James was one of those people who immediately stood out for all the wrong reasons. He was young, confident, and completely incapable of admitting fault. If a customer complained, it wasn't his fault. If paperwork was wrong, it wasn't his fault. If he gave incorrect information, somebody else told him. Every mistake came with a brand new excuse, and according to coworkers, he seemed to have a supernatural ability to avoid accountability. At first, management tried coaching him, then retraining him, then documenting incidents. Nothing worked. Every conversation ended exactly the same way. James was always the victim, never the problem. The supervisor said the most frustrating part wasn't even the mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. The frustrating part was watching James learn absolutely nothing from them. Because according to him, every consequence got blamed on somebody else. Weeks became months, and complaints kept stacking up. Then came the incident that changed everything. According to the supervisor, James handled a customer call involving important account information. A relatively simple situation, except somehow, James managed to provide completely incorrect instructions. Instructions that could have caused serious problems for the client. When the mistake was discovered, the supervisor immediately called the customer back. He apologized, corrected the information, and prevented a much bigger issue. Company policy was clear: a mistake that serious required documentation. Meaning James was getting written up, nothing unusual, nothing personal, just standard procedure. According to the supervisor, he invited James into an office with the door open, witnesses nearby, no privacy concerns, no confrontation, just paperwork. Or at least, that was the plan. The second James realized he was being written up, the excuses started. Then the accusations. Then the drama. According to the supervisor, James suddenly claimed he was being targeted. Then he claimed management was hostile. Then he claimed he was being yelled at, which was especially ridiculous, because multiple employees could see and hear the entire conversation. James refused to sign the paperwork, which honestly didn't matter. The write-up would still go into his file. The meeting ended. James stormed out and immediately headed upstairs straight to HR. About 30 minutes later, the supervisor got called into HR. According to him, he already knew exactly what was coming. The moment he walked in, HR started asking questions. Why did you yell at James? Why did you threaten him? Why are you targeting him? The supervisor sat there completely stunned, because none of those things happened. Not even remotely. He explained exactly what occurred. The open office. the witnesses, the customer complaint, the company policy, everything. HR listened, then made a decision, a very stupid decision. They threw out the write-up. And according to the supervisor, they basically implied he was overreacting. Then came the statement that changed everything. HR told him, "If James has any future issues, we'll handle them ourselves." The supervisor couldn't believe his luck, because HR had absolutely no idea what they had just volunteered for. And from that day forward, he complied perfectly. James called in sick? Go talk to HR. Attendance issue? Go talk to HR. Customer complaint? Go talk to HR. Schedule request? Go talk to HR. According to the supervisor, every single issue immediately became HR's responsibility, exactly as requested, no exceptions, no favors, no shortcuts, and at first, HR seemed happy, almost smug, like they had solved the problem, but then reality arrived. By the way, if you've ever worked with somebody like James, hit that subscribe button, because unfortunately, stories like this prove that every workplace seems to have at least one. And trust me, Char's nightmare was only just beginning. Weeks passed, then months, and according to the supervisor, James became HR's full-time hobby. He called them constantly, complained constantly, argued constantly. Everything became an HR issue. A scheduled disagreement? HR. Customer complaint? HR. A missed procedure? HR. According to employees nearby, HR started looking exhausted every time James walked through the door. Then things became even funnier because HR slowly started realizing something. The supervisor hadn't been targeting James. The supervisor had actually been protecting everyone else from James. And now that protection was gone. According to the story, James became impossible to ignore. The complaints kept growing. Documentation kept growing. Meetings kept growing. One HR representative allegedly joked that James generated more paperwork than entire departments. Nobody laughed, because it was true. Then one morning, everything finally came crashing down. James called in sick again, last minute according to HR. It was becoming a serious attendance problem. The same issue management had been warning about for months. Eventually, HR decided enough was enough. They placed James on a final warning. And suddenly, they wanted the supervisor involved again. Which was hilarious, because according to the supervisor, they requested he helped conduct the meeting. After months of insisting, they didn't need him. He politely reminded them, "I thought you were handling James." The room reportedly became very quiet. Eventually, they reached a compromise. Everyone would attend together, including James. The meeting started, and immediately, James did exactly what everybody expected. Excuses, complaints, victimhood. Nothing was his fault. Then HR requested something simple, a doctor's note. James said he'd bring it tomorrow. Tomorrow arrived. Then something incredible happened. James walked into HR, sat down, and quit. Just like that, no doctor's note, no explanation, no fight, according to the supervisor. The room was completely silent afterward. Then one HR employee reportedly leaned back and said, "Now we get it." And honestly, the funniest part wasn't that James quit. It wasn't the complaints. It wasn't the write-ups. It wasn't even watching. HR spent months cleaning up the mess they created. It was the fact that the supervisor had been telling them the truth from day one. They just didn't want to hear it. HR thought they were rescuing an innocent employee. Instead, they accidentally adopted him for months. And by the time James finally quit, They had learned the exact lesson the supervisor already knew. Some employees don't become problems because management is unfair. Some employees are simply professional victims. And eventually, even HR gets tired of being manipulated. If you've ever worked with a James, let me know in the comments. And if you enjoy workplace revenge, malicious compliance, entitled coworkers, and satisfying karma stories, make sure to subscribe for more.
He forced me to hire his crush. Most companies spend thousands of dollars trying to hire the best people. This company did the exact opposite. According to one employee, their department was hiring for a critical position. The role controlled client accounts worth millions. One mistake could cost the company huge amounts of money. After weeks of interviews, the hiring team narrowed the candidates down to a handful of excellent applicants. Then the supervisor stepped in, and according to the employee, he demanded they hire one of the worst candidates they interviewed. Not because she was qualified, not because she had experience, not because she impressed anyone, because he had a crush on her. At first, the employee thought it was a joke. It wasn't. And over the next few months, that one decision allegedly cost the company clients, contracts, millions of dollars, and eventually the supervisor's own career. According to the employee telling the story, he worked on a small hiring team inside a growing company. Unlike larger corporations, every hire mattered. One bad employee could affect entire departments. One great employee could save projects. That's why the hiring process was taken seriously, at least by most people. According to him, the company had spent weeks searching for candidates. The position wasn't easy. It required organization, attention to detail, communication skills, and the ability to work under pressure, because the person hired would eventually handle important client accounts. Mistakes wouldn't just affect coworkers. Mistakes could affect customers, and customers meant money. Lots of money. Eventually, applications started arriving. Dozens of them. Then interviews began. According to the employee, most candidates were average. Some were excellent, some were terrible, and one candidate stood out for all the wrong reasons. We'll call her Ashley. Ashley arrived late, didn't seem prepared, couldn't explain basic industry concepts, struggled answering simple questions, and according to interview notes, finished near the bottom of the rankings. Not second worst, not third worst, almost dead last. The hiring team moved on, or at least they thought they had, because shortly afterward, the supervisor requested a private conversation. According to the employee, the conversation immediately felt strange. The supervisor wasn't discussing qualifications, or performance, or hiring strategy. Instead, he wanted Ashley hired. Immediately. The employee was confused. Ashley wasn't even close to being the strongest candidate, so naturally he pushed back. Politely. Professionally. He explained the rankings, the interview scores, the concerns, everything. Then the supervisor revealed the real reason. According to the employee, he basically admitted he liked her. A lot. Apparently he thought she deserved a chance. Apparently he thought she'd grow into the role. Apparently he thought everyone was being too harsh. But according to the employee, everyone knew exactly what was happening. The supervisor had a crush, and common sense had left the building. The employee tried one last time. He showed the supervisor the hiring scores, the interview notes, the concerns raised by multiple interviewers. Everything pointed toward the same conclusion. Do not hire Ashley. Then the supervisor made a mistake. A very expensive mistake. According to the employee, the supervisor made it a direct order. Hire her. No discussion, no debate, no alternatives. Just do it. At that moment, the employee realized something important. If this exploded later, he needed proof, so he documented everything. every email, every instruction, every conversation, just in case. That decision would eventually save him. Ashley got hired. According to the employee, he genuinely tried helping her succeed. Extra training, additional support, detailed onboarding. He wanted to be wrong. Honestly, everyone did. Because if she succeeded, the company succeeded. For a few weeks, things seemed okay. Not great, but okay. Then the mistakes started. Small mistakes first. Missed details. Incorrect forms. Missed deadlines. Nothing catastrophic. Yet. Then came the first disaster. According to the employee, Ashley accidentally emailed confidential client information to the wrong company. Not a typo. Not a minor mistake. Confidential information. Sent directly to people who should never have received it. Management went into panic mode. Phone calls, meetings, damage control. The employee thought surely this would be the wake-up call. It wasn't, because the supervisor kept defending her. Claiming everyone makes mistakes. Claiming she needed more support. Claiming she was improving. And while we're here, if you've ever seen workplace favoritism create complete chaos, make sure to subscribe, because somehow this story gets even worse. A few weeks later, Ashley approved a major purchase order. At least she thought she did. According to the story, she accidentally approved an amount roughly 10 times larger than the approved budget. Nobody noticed immediately, which made the situation even worse. By the time finance caught the error, the damage had already started spreading. Emergency meetings followed. Senior management got involved. Questions started getting asked. Lots of questions. And according to the employee, things only kept getting worse. Because one of the company's biggest clients learned about the earlier confidential email mistake. Trust vanished. The relationship collapsed. And eventually, the client left, taking millions in business with them. Then another major client reduced their contract. Then another. The ripple effect was enormous, and suddenly upper management started digging deeper. The supervisor began distancing himself from the hiring decision. According to the employee, he suddenly acted like he barely knew Ashley. Which would have been funny, if it wasn't so pathetic. Because HR already had everything. The interview scores, the recommendations, the rankings, and most importantly, the emails, the documented instructions, the direct order, the paper trail, the evidence, everything. Once executives reviewed the records, the truth became impossible to ignore. According to the employee, the supervisor's credibility evaporated almost overnight. The hiring decision was indefensible. The losses were measurable. The consequences were real. And for the first time, the supervisor couldn't blame anyone else. Chunk 158. Not HR, not Ashley, not the hiring team. Him. Only him. Within months, the supervisor was reassigned. Not promoted, not transferred. Reassigned. The corporate version of being quietly removed. Ashley didn't last much longer either. According to the employee, she disappeared from the company shortly afterward. And honestly, the craziest part of the entire story isn't that the company lost clients, or money, or contracts. It's that every single person involved saw it coming. The hiring team knew. The interviewers knew. The paperwork knew. The only person who didn't see the disaster coming was the guy blinded by his own crush. And in the end, he managed to lose both. The job he wanted to protect, and the woman he wanted to impress. If you've ever worked somewhere that promoted favoritism over competence, let me know in the comments. And if you enjoy workplace revenge, malicious compliance, corporate disasters, and satisfying karma stories, make sure to subscribe for more.